Just yesterday, we got what is probably one of the biggest pieces of non-controversy news around Fallout 76. That with the DLC roadmap, giving us a really good look as to when a bunch of new content is coming, but also a good idea of what we're getting. Ironically, the same day that information came out was literally the only day over the past 5 months I took a vacation. Well, either way, in this video, I'm going to be doing a couple of things. Looking at this new DLC roadmap and some of the teases that are in there. There's some stuff that is immediately obvious, other things that aren't immediately obvious, as well as I'll just be giving my own opinions on this and highlighting certain aspects of it. If you guys do enjoy the content, you can leave a like or subscribe, or even if you just want to see new content on this new DLC. So even just kicking things off on this article containing the DLC roadmap, there's actually a few interesting tidbits of information that Bethesda discloses about Fallout 76. They mention how they just passed 100 days since the game's release, but also going further to say that they actually have had millions of people join them on this. This is a figure they've thrown around in the past, that there's been millions of people playing the game. Obviously, how they come to that number may vary. Does that mean 1 million people overall at any given time? It may not actually speak to active player volume, but another statistics they talk about that is actually very interesting. They mention we're thrilled by how much everyone is playing with an average time of 4 hours a day. Obviously, that's quite a lot. I don't think I play on average 4 hours a day, and I have a channel mostly dedicated to the video game. So maybe what they actually did here was take the overall playtime of everybody and divide it by the number of players, then by the number of days, and that's how they reached that. So it's accounting for some of those extreme cases of people playing a lot, but even if they use that methodology, that's still a lot of playtime. Maybe while everyone in the media is talking about how much of a flop this game probably was or its bad sales numbers, Bethesda behind the scenes is laughing that there's actually a ton of players and people don't realize that. And then finally, in this little intro bit, they actually touch on how they've had some issues along the way. There'll probably be more, but hopefully they will fix them quickly. It's just a tiny nod at that, but it is appreciated, at least by me. But then moving on to the roadmap, this is it, effectively. They also go way more in depth on all of this, but it's a visualization of when we can expect some of these various updates. The closest one's actually going to be Wild Appalachia, which will start in spring 2019, but even more specifically, they detail specific events that will be going live all the way from March 12th in just a couple of weeks from now to May 23rd. But then after that, they also be going forward with Nuclear Winter as well as Wastelanders. I'm going to talk about all three of these in this video, but of course, starting things off, let's look at Wild Appalachia. As you can tell by this image, we actually get somewhat of a look as to what this is going to be adding in, and it seems like one of the major themes of this are going to be cryptids. But we'll get back into that in a moment. As you can see by this, there are various dates placed on there, and on March 12th, it is confirmed we are getting a new brewing and distilling system. Based on that image, it looks like we're going to be getting a new crafting table, and in the article itself, Bethesda further expands on this, saying, go on a new quest to discover the secrets of the forbidden brew Nukashine and bring the party back to your camp with new brewing and distilling systems and recipes. So this sounds pretty cool. As I mentioned, it definitely sounds like it's going to add in a new crafting table, but I wouldn't be shocked if they also add in other things like new plants you can grow in your settlements and a way to actually craft some of the other chems that would fit along with this, such as some of the wines, beers, or even whiskeys. And I imagine the quest will actually tie this all together and explain how you get access to this crafting table. I do actually find it kind of interesting that this is the part they're kicking off with. A lot of the other things sound really cool, and not that I'm not looking forward to the new brewing and distilling system. I just find it rather odd that that's literally going to be the first DLC we get, not one of the other quests or even one of the other events that are on this same list. Those will all come in the following weeks. But at the same time, who knows? Maybe there actually is more coming at that date. And next up, we actually have this parade 1 week later on March 19th. This one's pretty interesting because previous leaks around Fallout 76 have actually shown us more details than Bethesda is giving right now. They talk about how this is going to be a new event where you have to chase away Old Man Winter and quicken the coming of spring with the ancient festival of the Fastnacht, and I'm again butchering that. Join the celebration and complete this new limited time event to earn unique rewards in the form of festive Fastnacht masks. You can actually see one of the masks in the preview image, and I've seen this mask before, and some of you might also remember when I showed it to you. Probably around a month ago now, somebody that got into one of the dev rooms of Fallout 76 found several of these masks and sent them to me. At the time, I didn't really understand what they were, but it certainly seems like this is actually going to be the rewards you can get, the different masks they discuss here. A lot of these actually look really cool, and I feel like masks in particular are one of those items that you can use on all kinds of different characters, and it still looks pretty nice. But following that, we do have the new survival mode. This is the one that we've heard about mostly. It's going to be a totally new way to actually launch and play the game, and here you're going to have no PvP restrictions. You'll just be able to engage other players immediately. But even beyond that, in the past, Bethesda has talked about actually changing some of the death mechanics. When you die in this, you could respawn either at your camp or at Vault 76, not anywhere like you can in the traditional adventure mode. But even further, in the past preview, they also discussed that they might implement some features where when you die in this mode, you actually lose more, like dropping certain aid items. So really the only new information we have here is of course the release date on March 26th, but even further they actually talk about how this new mode should have increased rewards and new challenges. Now I'm not sure if that's just in reference to the additional challenge of having PvP always enabled, or actual new challenges you can do, and even further those rewards are probably tying into what kind of rewards you can loot off of other players specifically. Either way, I'm pretty excited for that one. I think it's going to be one that's actually a lot of fun to stream. So on April 9th, there's actually more than one thing going live, but I'll focus on Sheer Terror. By Bethesda's description, this is going to be a way to uncover the encrypted secrets of Appalachia in a new series of quests and encounters to separate monsters from myth. But further, this actually brings me back to that creature we saw in the preview image before. That certainly looks like a cryptid of some kind, and you have to imagine it'll tie into this. Many users have actually started speculating about what that can be, using the hints of the image of this creature itself, but then also the titling of the quest. Sheer Terror is an interesting word. It's not sheer in the traditional spelling. Sheer in this sense actually means like to shear a sheep. That has led people to drawing the conclusion this could be in reference to sheep squatch. It's described as a woolly-haired cryptid that you could find around numerous counties in West Virginia. I'll have a link to some of the speculation on some of the various forums as well as the wiki page for this guy down below. But if you look at some of the drawn images of this and you actually look at the picture Bethesda described, it seems like the two look very similar. But one of the interesting parts here is Bethesda refers to them as monsters, suggesting that potentially there's several cryptids added in by this. If you look at the image in the preview, there's a map with a bunch of arrows on it. So a Reddit user by this name and a Twitch streamer with this name, I'm not going to attempt to pronounce those, actually looked further into this to see where the map markers were pointing. He's created a full post on it. I will have a link down below if you want to read it, but what he found was pretty interesting. Some of those map markers point to things like the Lucky Hole Mine, where you could find that otherwise mysterious squid-like creature, or also the crashed space station, that being a place that just looks like it has more to it. There's actually a door that leads nowhere, so could that be evidence that there actually are additional cryptids that you will encounter along this quest line? Naturally, this is still several months away, so I imagine there's going to be a lot more speculation around what kind of cryptids we see, how many we see, or even where it takes us. Although I do like, at least based off what I've seen thus far, that Bethesda is using this as an opportunity to expand existing locations. That was one of my major complaints with this game, and I'm very happy they're taking that route. Outside of that, on the same day of April 9th, we're also getting player vending. This is something that was teased a while ago and actually shown in one of the original trailers for Fallout 76. It seems like it's going to work in the way you think. You place a vending machine down at your camp, and then somebody could come and buy items at a price you set. But even further, they talk about how they're also going to be adding in decoration options. So you could place down certain items that you do have in your inventory or stash and just have them be static objects for decoration. This was really popular in Fallout 4, and I know a lot of people have been looking forward to getting this in Fallout 76. And then finally, one that's actually coming the following week is a camera. I don't really get this. Bethesda just describes it as a functional camera that you can use to capture your memories, but we already have a camera mode. So is this just going to be like literally a camera that you can take pictures with, maybe zoom with? I'm not really sure what the benefit of using this would be, but I'm interested to hear more. I really love the camera mode in this game, so will the camera have some kind of additional or other functionality? Or will it really just be a more limited version of the camera mode from more of a first-person perspective? One thing that could be really cool is if you could actually take pictures with that camera and then print them out in your camp to put on display. After that, it actually brings us to May 7th. It's here that we're seemingly going to get introduced into a new faction along with a new questline. Bethesda describes it as journey into the deepest reaches of the woods with new stories for the legendary Pioneer Scouts. Earn merit badges, climb the ranks, and earn a customizable backpack for increased utility. And it looks like in that image we actually see that backpack. Backpacks have actually been in the files of Fallout 76 roughly from around release, and based off what we've seen in the past, these aren't just cosmetic, they actually do increase your carry weight. Although as far as cosmetic goes, the backpack we see in that image looks awesome. I love the put together or handmade look. But then finally, actually moving to the last thing they do announce, that with on May 23rd, a legendary vendor. This one actually is really cool. Locate the mysterious purveyor to exchange and scrap your unwanted legendary items for new legendary gear. For every star rating on a legendary item you scrap, increase your chances to get a legendary weapon or armor of your dreams. So to me, this sounds very much so like a reroll system. Like you'll submit a few legendary items to this guy, and then he will give you something else in return at totally random. So you don't know what you're going to get, but you do have a chance at getting something better. Although naturally, this can't really be a direct trade. Like you'll probably have to put in 2 or 3 legendary items for every one you get back. Otherwise, people could sit here all day just rerolling their legendaries. I really like this though. There's a lot of legendary items I've personally gotten on my character that are useless. I end up just having to drop them or sell them at a vendor because there's otherwise nothing you can do. It's not like you could even scrap them for their raw materials. Something interesting that may tie in to this new wave of DLC is these skins. With the latest update to Fallout 76, people data mined the Atomic Shop, and these skins were found in that, and they look awesome. The naming of these actually corresponds to the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse, and I was actually sitting on these for the past couple of days waiting for the roadmap to come out because you just have to imagine with skins this high quality, they look significantly better than any of the other skins we've seen for the game. It'll actually tie into the DLC. So for me at least, I couldn't place them. Maybe these skins will somehow tie into the cryptid questlines. I definitely could see that being plausible, but it didn't seem immediately obvious based off what I just read and told you about. Either way, even if they just release as a basic set of 4 different skins, these look really cool. This is one of the first items in the Atomic Shop that I feel like is actually worth the money, depending on how much it costs. We don't know that quite yet, but if you've been saving up some atoms for Fallout 76, I would say this is a good thing to spend it on. These are some of the best looking skins that I think Bethesda has ever made, and it really is better than even the free alternatives we see for Fallout 4. So honestly, that about sums it up for what we know right now about Wild Wasteland, including some leaks we've had in the past, as well as just some speculation. But one thing I do want to point out to all of you is the timing of this. This is something I was kind of concerned about before this roadmap came out, and even though I would say pretty much everything they've shown looks awesome and really fun, there certainly are going to be dry periods here. For example, on April 16th, we're getting a new camera, which might be cool, but it'll be a full 3 weeks after that until we actually see the next new quest on May 7th. It'll be roughly a month in between the 2 different quest lines we see, but even further, both of those quest lines are still several months away. So even though this looks awesome, I'm very excited for it, I would temper your expectations. There's certainly going to be a waiting game in between these releases. But as I mentioned before, we also do have the 2 other things that are more mentioned than actual giving details of, and we definitely don't have dates for. The first one being Nuclear Winter. Bethesda does say that this is coming out in summer of 2019. They describe Nuclear Winter as an entirely new way to play that changes the rules of the Wasteland. Ever since Fallout 76 has released, there's actually been files alluding to something of a team deathmatch mode. Some of the load screens reference team versus team content, but even further, there actually are cells labeled as PvP playgrounds or team deathmatch arenas. I would say it is potential this could tie into that, or even alternatively, people are going further to venture that this could be some kind of battle royale-esque mode. Although as far as behind the scenes go, there isn't a ton to support that. That certainly could be interesting. I'm not directly opposed to it, but for right now, I would put my money more on something like a PvP mode. This is also around the time we're going to get those new vault raids. I've made a couple of videos talking about this, including one of my latest ones where I actually get inside and show you these vaults. Bethesda says we're going to be getting the Vault 94 and 96 opening, and it's going to be for the most seasoned players. Test your strength in all new high-level group vault raids. I could talk a lot about this, but I already have, so I would reference you to that video if you guys haven't seen it. And again, you can get an inside look as to what is actually inside of those vaults. Although something pretty interesting here, there's actually 3 unused vaults in Fallout 76. There also is Vault 63, and it's pretty curious that it's not included with the rest of these vaults in this new DLC. And then finally, they discuss a new feature that with legendary players. It's going to be a new prestige system that will allow players above level 50 to become legendary, resetting their characters with all new, more powerful abilities. That sounds really nice, although it seems like one of those things that the game game needs like now. I think there's a lot of people that have exhausted a good chunk of the content the game has, and this would be an easy way to get them reinvested in the game and ready for a new playthrough or just doing some new challenges. I think without a doubt it'll be a good addition to the game and add replayability. It's just odd to me that they're adding it so far after release, in summer of 2019 when the game came out in November of 2018. And then finally we do have Wastelanders. Bethesda says this is going to be coming around fall 2019, so a full year after the release of this game, but the description of this one is really interesting. Embark on a tale with true choice and consequences in Wastelanders, our biggest and most ambitious update for Fallout 76. Wastelanders will include a new main questline, new factions, new events, new features, and more surprises. So naturally that's very vague, but at the same time, I'm going to put on my speculation hat, and you might also for this. What is a Wastelander? In past Fallout games, it would obviously refer to just one of the NPCs you encounter. Some of the biggest complaints around Fallout 76 were the lack of human NPCs, or really just interesting NPCs. What if Bethesda is actually planning on addressing this by introducing human NPCs that have dialogue options and thus give you the option of choice, something that is otherwise very lacking in this game? But I feel like this one sentence does kind of allude to that. One, it's called Wastelanders. Two, it literally talks about adding in choice, but even further, how it's going to be the biggest and most ambitious update for Fallout 76. So who knows? Maybe that's what it ends up being, maybe it's not. But for me at least, it seems like that is a decent amount of evidence that I'm not crazy for suggesting that. Either way, all in all, this sounds awesome. It definitely gets me excited for the future of Fallout 76. I really like pretty much everything they've discussed here. Although I think it's pretty evident, at least based off this, there still will be periods of downtime. I think the way they structure a lot of the content for Fallout 76 makes it so the replayability just isn't there, at least when compared to previous Fallout games. And at least as of right now, nothing that we got details on in the Wild Wasteland DLC really suggests otherwise outside of the survival mode. But either way, I am very excited. It took quite a while, but we are finally here. We are finally getting proper new content for Fallout 76. Either way though, as always again, I do thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, but with that, I hope to see you all next time. Later.